Azure Migrate is your free tool for secure migrations to Azure. It supports security of data in flight through VPN. And by choosing to upgrade your end-of-support 2008 and 2012 Windows Server while migrating to Azure, you get a great opportunity to extend support and secure the operating systems on which your applications and databases run. Azure Migrate can discover your IT estate, either through a low-touch, efficient agentless approach or by connecting you to existing CMDBs, which contain the required data. It can also perform assessments and provide insight on data imported through a manual CSV file. All these discovery methods are available for both your on-prem estate running on hypervisors and bare metal servers alike, including IT resources in other public cloud. From an optimization perspective, Azure Migrate provides readiness checks and right-sized recommendations for your on-prem IT resources before the move. Through the business case feature, cost and savings with available discounts can be estimated so you can decide on your migration strategy with confidence. These features allow your operating systems, databases, and applications to land in a supported, secure, and optimal environment in Azure. Here's what we have for Build 2024 in Azure Migrate for Linux. Let's look at the Azure Hybrid Benefit support in Azure Migrate for Linux machines. And let's also look at the Java Web App support available in Azure Migrate. What's available today in Azure Migrate is support for Linux VM migrations in Azure Migrate as part of lift and shift migrations. We also support the Java Tomcat Web Apps Discovery Assessment business case running in customers' on-prem Linux machines. And we are also supporting, as a newer capability, around surfacing the cost savings, leveraging Azure Hybrid Benefit for Enterprise Linux subscriptions, which is RHEL and SLES. And some of the upcoming features in Azure Migrate are enabling Azure Hybrid Benefit extension as part of Linux migrations, and setting the desired license type for the migrated Enterprise Linux machines, which is bring your own subscription or pay as you go. Benefit from substantial savings for your Linux workloads through these Azure Migrate features. Azure Migrate supports discovering of Linux machines running on customers' on-premises, including RHEL, SLES, Enterprise Linux distros. As part of the server discovery, Azure Migrate also discovers the Java Tomcat web apps running on those Linux machines. Here we can filter down to specific Linux machines, which are running the web apps, and see further details of each of those apps in the machines. Here we have 3 machines, which are running web apps here. You can also see which OS they are running. If we click on the number, it will give a list of all the web apps running in this machine. For example, we have 5 Java Tomcat apps running in this particular machine. If we click on one of those apps, we can also see detailed properties of these apps like URLs, protocols, and more. Once the discovery is completed, customers can create a business case for their entire on-premises team to get an understanding of TCO benefits to move them to Azure, which has new capabilities. This also includes the Java Web Apps migration modernization to pause targets like App Services and AKS, and also Azure Hybrid Benefit cost savings for RHEL and SLES Enterprise Linux machines. Azure Hybrid Benefit allows customers to leverage the existing Enterprise Linux subscriptions customers are already having with their vendors directly. In this existing business case, you can see the savings with Azure Hybrid Benefit, which are combining the Windows, Linux, and SQL Server licenses. Customers can now also see Azure Hybrid Benefit cost savings in VM assessment, which includes RHEL and SLES Enterprise Linux distros. For example, here you can see in the Azure VM assessments, we have an option for Azure Hybrid Benefit for both Windows Server license and Enterprise Linux subscriptions. In this existing Azure VM assessment, you can see the potential savings, with Azure Hybrid Benefit mentioned for Windows and for Linux. Here the calculation for Linux is based on the Enterprise Linux distros, which are RHEL and SLES. Customers can also create Java Tomcat web app assessments for AKS and App Service, which helps them with the readiness information, estimated monthly cost to run those apps, along with the SKU recommendation. Now let's see the Java Tomcat apps for the App Service in one of the existing assessments. Here we can see there are a total of 13 Java Tomcat apps on 4 Tomcat web servers in 3 different VMs. which are assessed in the assessment for both Azure App Service Code and Azure App Service Container as the target. Here, the 13 apps assessed are ready with condition for App Service Code, whereas 2 out of the 13 are ready and the remaining 11 are ready with conditions for App Service Containers. We can also dig deep to understand how to make the Ready with Conditions apps into fully ready. We click on Ready with Conditions to learn about the migration steps. For example, in this one, the check that makes it ready with conditions is port type check. Regarding the migrations, we plan to enable Azure Hybrid Benefit extension in the existing Linux VM migration flow, which will further take care of enabling the desired license type, which is bring your own subscription or pay-as-you-go, or the enterprise Linux machines, and provide the full flexibility of switching between these license types as well, easily using this particular extension. Now let's look at how Azure Migrate brings value to your VM private cloud workloads, known as Azure VMware Solutions or AVS platform. Here's a preview of what is coming in Azure Migrate for VMware private cloud workloads. As most of you know, the customer needs to be informed about fit and savings in Azure during the early stages of the sales cycle. Current Azure Migrate assessment and business case capabilities cover VMware workloads moving to Azure VM, AVM. Azure Migrate can now provide similar insights for VMware workloads looking to move to a private cloud in Azure, known as Azure VMware Solutions or AVS. Azure offers a lock-on license price through our private cloud called Azure VMware Solution, or AVS. Before moving VMware workloads to AVS, customers need to understand costs and estimate savings to help make the case. This is where Azure Migrate's new assessment and TCO feature comes into the picture. A key point is that Azure Migrate can now import discovered data from VMware RV Tools files to assess for readiness and provide right-sized recommendations with cost estimates for AVS. Now let's dive into the demo to show you how quick and easy it is to assess and generate a business case TCO report to share with your decision makers. In this video, we're going to see how you can get an estimate of your total cost of ownership of hosting your on-premises VMware VMS onto AVS before migrating those VMs. To get started, navigate to the Azure portal and click on Azure Migration Tools, and then on Servers, Databases, and Web Apps. Create a new project for a new assessment by clicking on Create Project. Click on the drop-down to choose the subscription where you want to create this business case in, and create a new resource group and a project and name it appropriately. The geography here indicates where the data belonging to this project will be stored. Click on Create at the bottom. This will take a few seconds to get the project created. Once the project has been created, you can import your on-premises VMware data using 3 methods: RV Tools XLSX, Azure Migrate CSV, or the Azure Migrate appliance. In this video, we're going to create a quick business case using the RV Tools XLSX. In order to do this, you can click on Discover and then on Import to start importing the list of servers you have from your on-premises environment. In the drop-down on top, choose VMware Inventory, RV Tools XLSX to import data using RV Tools Excel file. Click on Browse and choose the file you want to import, and then click on Import. This will take a few minutes for the data to be imported into Azure Migrate. You can see the status of import by clicking on the notification bell icon. Please do not close or refresh this page while this import is in progress. Once the import is complete, you can see the number of servers that have been imported. It generally takes around 4 to 5 minutes to import the data. As you can see, a total of 567 servers have been imported successfully. You need to wait for approximately 10 minutes to let the data synchronize before you can start creating a business case or an assessment. You can go back to the Azure Migrate homepage and click on Refresh to see the imported data. Click on Build Business Case to create a new business case. Provide an appropriate name to the business case. Choose the SDDC location where you want to migrate your VMs to. The discovery source in this case automatically points to the RV Tools file. In case you bring your VMs using the Azure Migrate appliance, this drop-down will be enabled, and you will be able to choose between either the appliance or the 𝗲𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀 or CSV file. Since we want to migrate the VMs to Azure VMware solution, the migrate strategy is migrate to AVS. The currency here will be used to show the cost in the business case, which in this case is USD. Once done, click on Build Business Case at the bottom to start creating the business case. Depending on the amount of data, this will take some time to create the business case. You can click on Refresh after some time to see if the business case has been created. Once created, the business case will show the estimated total cost of ownership for hosting workloads on your Azure VMware solution environment, and also compare it with the TCO on an on-premises environment. In this case, as you can see, the TCO on AVS is $2 million, and that an on-premises environment is $3 million, effectively meaning a savings of $844,000. The business case also shows the approximate savings a customer will incur by bringing their on-premises Windows and SQL licenses onto AVS, which is indicated by the Savings with Azure Hybrid benefit here. Customers also get extended security updates for free for Windows and SQL servers on AVS. These savings are indicated in Savings with Extended Security Updates. In this business case, savings are only shown for Windows servers since SQL servers are applications running inside the VMs and 𝗲𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀 does not conclusively provide information regarding applications running inside the VMs. If you click on the On-Premises versus AVS page, it will show the details and break the TCO down into categorical costs. As you can see, the total cost of ownership includes the compute and licensing, storage, IT labor, and networking costs. All of these costs are presented in a graphical as well as a tabular format. For more information about the AVS costs, click on the AVS Azure VMware Solution page, and here it will indicate the SKU used for the TCO and other technical parameters about the AVS environment. All of these on-premises costs are obtained using configurable benchmarks, which can be seen and modified on the Assumptions page. As you can see on the On-Premises Cost Assumptions page, you can edit the Windows, SQL, and VMware licensing costs. Similarly, you can view and edit the assumptions for the storage, networking, licensing, and facilities costs, and align it more that fits and suits your environment the best. After editing these costs, click on the Save button at the bottom to generate the business case. You can also modify the Azure Cost Assumptions by clicking on Azure Cost under Assumptions. As you can see, this page includes the migration timeline, which we have assumed to be 1 year by default. For any questions or feedback, please reach out to Microsoft support. Now that you've seen a brief review of the value Azure Migrate brings to your migrations, here's some guidance on next steps. If you wish to migrate to Azure yourself, Azure Migrate is your best free tool for most use cases. Azure Migrate can also leverage features from select third-party tools for specific features as needed. You can also get help from either your preferred partner or reach out to Microsoft to help select one for you. Depending on your workload profile and needs, Microsoft will then connect you with the appropriate partner who will then help guide you through the process. Thank you for your time.